Welcome to the Special Friends Ministry On Demand training, Autism in the Church. This module will be on the 5 characteristics of the church that make it a place of welcome and inclusion for all.
Ecclesia is the Greek word for assembly or congregation. In the New Testament, the word was used to denote the meeting together of a special assembly. And the special assembly that we're talking about in this presentation is the body of Christ, the church. So let's talk about some of the characteristics of the body of Christ that make it the perfect place of belonging for someone on the autism spectrum. One of the characteristics of the body of Christ is that we are a place of believing. And what's one of the things that we believe? We believe that our value as human beings is not based on what we can do, but our value is based in who we are, made in the image of God. Let me share with you a passage from 1 Corinthians 12, verse 22. And I quote, "Those parts of the body of Christ that seem to be weaker are indispensable. And the parts that we think that are less honorable, we should treat with special honor." End of quote. You see, we live in a society, in a world that believes that strength is in, but being weak, well, weak is out. A society that believes that having ability is something. Having ability, that's everything. While having no ability, or possibly disability, that's nothing. See, from a human perspective, I think that a lot of other people, had they been writing this passage, would have written, the parts of the body that seem to be weaker are dispensable, that they're of little value. But you know what? That is not what we read in this divinely inspired passage. In fact, the Greek word indispensable had 2 other usages or meanings. One of the usage of the word indispensable is the word necessary. It's a word that you would use if you were to say that your liver is necessary. It's necessary or indispensable for the healthy functioning of your body. And so you could have switched out the word indispensable and replaced the word necessary, and that passage would have read like this: those parts of the body of Christ that seem to be weaker are necessary. Now, another usage of the word indispensable in the Greek could have been the word close, as in Joe is a close friend. If you would have traded out the word indispensable with the word close, that passage would read like this: those parts of the body of Christ that seem to be weaker are close friends. Those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are close friends. The Lord has brought people with autism among us because they too are part of what it means to be in a community of faith. Another characteristic of the body of Christ is that it is a place of welcome. And being a place of welcome means not only to open one's door to someone, but also to open one's heart. And to open one's heart is to make room for someone, making room for that person to be who they are and to grow spiritually. It's helping that person to know that they are accepted just as they are, with their disability, but also with the gifts that they bring. To be a place of welcome is to make the stranger feel at home, to feel at ease, to feel accepted. And that stranger sometimes arrives as a person who is different, a person that you might think is outside of your circle. But Jesus, however, reminds us that he often comes under the guise as a stranger. From Matthew 25, verse 35, I was a stranger and you welcomed me. A characteristic of the body of Christ is that it should be a place of belonging. You know, one of the most fundamental needs of every human being is to belong. Not simply to belong in the sense that I belong to a fitness center, or I belong to Blockbuster, or that I belong to a country club. You see, God designed us to be a relational people And therefore, one of our deepest needs is to be in relationship with others, to love and to be loved. If that thirst to belong and to be in relationship with another is not satisfied, it can create feelings of rejection and loneliness. And folks, I know firsthand, people with autism often live very isolated lives, and they need a place to belong. Another characteristic of the body of Christ is that it's a place of caring, because we believe that it's people that matter. If the body of Christ are a people of welcome and a people of belonging, then they're also to be a people of loving concern for each and every person. It's people that matter, to love and to care for the people that are there just as they are. It is to care for them in such a way that they may grow according to the plan of God and thus give life back to the body of Christ. The body of Christ is a place where people care for others and are cared for by others. The last characteristic that I would like to mention today is that the body of Christ is a place of love. Jesus said, "A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another." You know, God seems pleased to call together in Christian communities people who, humanly speaking, are very different. And if you don't believe me, next time you're in church, take a look to your left and to your right in your pew, and you'll see exactly what I mean. I believe that sometimes we have an inclination on the inside of us that desires the ideal community of faith. And if it existed, it would be made up of people just like me. But you know what? That place doesn't exist, and so we need to quit seeking it. It is a matter of loving those who God has set beside us today. Now, we might have chosen different people, but these different people are the ones who God has given us, the ones God has chosen for us, and that includes those with autism and other disabilities. And it is with them that we are called to live in communion. And in order to do that, we need to be a place of love. Before I close today, I would like to talk about the gifts of autism for the community of faith, the body of Christ, the church. And here's just a few of them. People with autism show us the capacity for love in our hearts. That's one gift. Another one, people with autism show us our own vulnerability. And in order to understand that, you need to spend time with a person for autism. And when you do, you'll see that this will happen. And another gift is that people with autism teach us how to live the gospel. Just not to know it, not to be able to recite it, but to live it. Communities of faith who gather together to live the presence of Jesus among those with intellectual disabilities, such as autism, often initially see them as objects of charity, someone to give to, or someone to do something for. But over time, they discover that they are a source of life, someone to receive from. How do they do that? Well, they open our hearts. They reveal the source of living water within us and show us our capacity to love. It is their weakness that helps us to develop an open and a gentle presence that in turns reveals to others their uniqueness. And when this happens, your community of faith begins to see difference not as a threat, but as a treasure. You will begin to live the idea that even though each of us is different one from the other, that all together we're like a symphony, an orchestra, or as Paul puts it, a body. And when we do this for each other, we come to the realization that we are interdependent, that we are united in the covenant that flows between God and His people. I want to thank you for listening today. Join me for part 2, where we'll discuss the 7 defining characteristics of the culture of autism and some of the implications that these characteristics have for Sunday school teachers. And until then, God bless you and have a great week.